Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reviewing Love After Lockup Season 3, Episode 39. So go ahead and grab your drink and whatever else it is that you do, and let's get right into this review, okay? So the first couple I'm going to talk about is Rachel and Doug. And we open up the scene with Rachel and Doug after their first night together, and it appears that everything went smoothly. And so they get up and they go outside to wait for Rachel's mom to bring Dougie back. And so they pull up, and Dougie gets out of the car, and he finally sees his dad, and he gives him a big hug. And it's really just a sweet moment between the two of them. You can tell that Doug really loves his son, and that Dougie really missed his dad. And I bet you it probably feels like he finally has some sense of connection to someone, a real connection that could only be provided by direct family members. So I was so happy he had that moment. And so then Doug goes and he hugs Rachel's mom, and then they all go inside and they're sitting around and they're talking. And Rachel's mom asks how their day went yesterday, and he tells her that he was trying to make a grandbaby for her. And I felt like that was a little bit much. That's not something that you say to your mother-in-law when you meet her for the first time, but go off. And then her mom also asked, does he have a plan to go to trade school or something? And you can tell that he really doesn't have a plan. He says that he had some skills that he learned while in prison, but he doesn't think that those will transfer over into the outside world. And then Rachel invites her mom to go to dinner with them later, but her mom declines and says that they need to get to know each other again, and it's, a family time. And when she says that, Dougie says, get to know? He's never known me truly. And then Doug says, well, I know about the girls that you've been talking to on TikTok. And then little Dougie says he only has one girl, unlike him, who has had 10 girlfriends in the last 3 years. And when he says that, Rachel's eyes kind of get big, and her mom just kind of looks like, oh my goodness, because I feel like they probably know that little Dougie is telling the truth. Why would he lie about that? He has no reason to lie about that. He's probably been introduced to all these different women, or maybe for some odd reason they're telling him about that. But I believe what the little boy said. I definitely believe what he says. So then Rachel's mom gets up to go, and Rachel asks her, well, what do you think about him? And Rachel's mom says that she thinks that he needs to be more humble, and I couldn't agree with her more. He has this arrogance to him, and you can see that he feels that he won the jackpot. And he's willing to do anything to stay with Rachel because she's willing to do anything for him, literally. And so then later that night, they go to dinner, and Dougie's just asking him random questions, those either-or questions, would-you-rather questions that kids ask. But he's also talking a little reckless and borderline disrespectful, but I understand that that's probably his way of releasing some of his aggression. He has never had a relationship with his dad, and now that he's finally in front of him, he probably doesn't know how to tell him how his absence made him feel. And, maybe he might need to go to a therapist or something to talk about that, but we'll see. So the next couple is Nicole and Dionte. Oh, goodness, Nicole and Dionte. So we pick up where we left off last episode. They are leaving Nicole's mother's home and heading to Dionte's place. And when they enter, he has a heart on the floor made out of candles and rose petals. And he shows her to the guest room. And there's wine and candles in there and a lot more gifts all over the bed. Michael Kors watches, Jordans, clothes, and she's excited about all of this until she opens up the gift that's lingerie. And she's irritated because she told him that she didn't want to do all of that. And in my opinion, I think that she should have stayed at her mom's house because she knew what he wanted. And that's why he got her all those gifts, and she knows that. But she decides that she will put on the lingerie, but that's it. He can't touch her. So she's putting on the lingerie, and we learn that she was a stripper in jail. And I have to say that I have truly never heard of that in my life. I've never heard of a jail stripper. Like how? Aren't there guards everywhere? Or was she in like a unit where they didn't have a lot of supervision? I don't know. But then, like, if there were guards around, when? I just want to know, is it anything like the show Oz? Like, I can see it now. We TV should come up with a documentary on jail strippers and credit me and Nicole for giving them the idea. But anyway, she comes out and she shows Dionte the lingerie, and he's getting super excited. He's doing a little bit too much, and she has to tell him like, no, we're not doing anything sexual. I don't want to do that. And so he asked her to put on a dance for him. And so she does this little dance, and I guess the bar is set to hell for prison dancers because she wasn't doing anything. But whatever, go off, sis. I'm glad you got your money. And he tries to touch her, but she won't let him. She actually has him sitting on his hands while she's doing her little dance. And then she's like, okay, I'm done. And then she starts talking about how she wants a boob job because she thinks she'll be more comfortable with him. What? Like, that doesn't even really make sense to me, but go off, sis, I guess. So she tells him that that's it for the night. She's done, and she goes back to her little room, and he literally slides off the chair, and he's on his knees basically begging for her, and she just shuts the door in his face. And I feel like if he don't get his ass up off the floor and open his eyes, we're all seeing what she's doing, and she's getting away with it, and it's just so frustrating. Anyway, so the next day, Dionte picks Nicole up from her mom's house, and we find out that she asked him to take her back to her mom's house, and Dionte feels some type of way about that, and he doesn't like how things happened the night before, and she doesn't really care. And so he picks her up and drops her off to get her hair done, and she links up with her friend from prison, and she starts to brag about all the things that he's bought her, and I have no sympathy for him. He's a hot-ass mess who deserves it. At this point, no sympathy. And so then her friend asks her when's the last time that she had sex, and she says, well, do you mean with a man or a woman? And she reveals that the last time she had sex was a week ago with somebody in jail. And Nicole says that cheating with girls isn't cheating. I guess it's just having a good time. I don't know. I guess so. And as they're talking, we find out that Nicole was with a girl named Tia, and that she was actually deeply in love with this woman. And I think that the relationship may have overlapped with Dionte. But so her friend tells her, well, maybe you should reach out to Tia. And so Nicole does it before Dionte can come and pay for her hair. Because when she finished getting her hair done, the lady was like, you guys can go to wherever and get everything settled. And she don't even have money to get, well, she has money. She's refusing to use her own money to pay for her hair because remember, Dionte gave her a stack of money the day before, I think, or the day before that. Regardless, she hasn't really been anywhere, so I know she hasn't spent the money. But that's what he gets. That's exactly what he gets. So the next couple is Courtney and Josh. So Courtney and Josh, they are talking, and he's saying that he wrote a letter to his grandma, who actually raised him, and said that she never loved him, and that's why he was put in foster care. And he feels extremely bad about that, and he wants to make amends with her. And so he calls her, and he tells her that he's sorry, and that he wants to see her. And he asks, well, would it be okay for me to stop by? And she's allowing it. And he goes and he visits her the next day. And it's the first time that he's seen her face to face in 4 years. And we learn that Grandma, who's called Mama Rose, raised him because his mother was on drugs. And at the age of 5, his father had visitation, but it was revoked because he was giving Josh beer. So Josh and Mama Rose sit outside and they talk about the letter that he sent. And she just asks him, why did he send the letter? And he tells her that he sent it because he was hurting and he wanted to hurt her too. And of course, she forgives him because she raised him. That's basically her son. And partly because she knows that he didn't mean it. He just wanted to lash out because he was dealt a bad hand at life. And he couldn't really tell the people that needed to hear those things, which are his mother and father. So he took it out on his grandmother. And I'm glad that he was able to say sorry to her face to face, because that goes a long way. Being able just to say sorry and that you didn't mean it. I'm glad that he was able to finally get that weight off of his chest. So good for him. So then the next couple is Anissa and Jeff. And so we have Anissa getting ready to go get Jeff. And she has her friend Kyle with her because she doesn't like to drive. And Kyle makes her promise that if he doesn't show up this time, that she is going to leave him alone. And she promises because, after 3 times, she's done. So they get their welcome home Jeff sign and head to the bus station. And on the way to the bus station, Anissa is hyping him up and talking about how he's just this great guy. But Kyle is skeptical about the situation, and I don't blame him. And so we see in the confessional that Anissa said that he was released 2 times before and that he didn't want to see her. And he told her that. And it's because he didn't want a relationship. And once again, this is on her. I think it's bogus for her to just allow it. But I'm glad that she did admit that he was using her for money. She admitted that he had conned her out of tens of thousands of dollars. And that's what she gets, honestly. But anyway, she's waiting for him to get off the bus. And at first he doesn't get off the bus. But then she walks to the back of the building and there he is. He says that he fell asleep on the bus. And that's why he wasn't there whenever she was outside waiting for him. And so he has a confessional, and he admits, too, that he was using Anissa. He said that she was a hustle to him, and he had no intention of ever going to meet her. But this 3rd time, he feels like he fell in love with her, and he's ready to marry her finally. So on the way to the halfway house, it's a little awkward in the car with Kyle. And basically, he's using that time in the car with Jeff to tell him, she's made a lot of sacrifices, and if you don't do right by her, it's really going to hurt her, and, just letting him know that he really has to get things right. And so they finally drop him off at the halfway house, and they part ways. And finally, we have Stan and Lisa. So Stan and Lisa are finally back at Stan's house, and he shows her to her room. Lisa will be having her own room because Stan has night terrors and Lisa doesn't like it. And you can tell that Lisa's not happy because at this point she's worried about her son. So she can't really be in the moment. And Stan seems oblivious to the situation, and he just goes downstairs and he pours 2 glasses of wine. And so after she's upstairs, I guess, getting settled in, she comes downstairs, and as she's walking by him, he's sitting on the couch flipping through the TV guide with some wine, and he asks her how she's doing, and she says, I have to go. And so she goes outside and she smokes a cigarette, and he follows her outside and asks how's it going, and starts kissing on her, and she really seemed repulsed, and she starts to kind of go off and says that she's not doing okay and her son needs her, and she's stressed out right now, and that she would have thought that he would have offered to have her son come stay with them, and she's kind of upset that he hasn't done that. And Stan basically said that there's nothing that he can do. He feels as though he doesn't really know Lisa like that, so he doesn't know her well enough to bring in her son or any other family members, which I understand. He doesn't know her like that. They haven't even known each other for a year, I don't think. So for her to even think that he would suggest that her grown son come stay with them, I don't think that would be a good idea at all. And it actually makes me think that it would be a con. If that was me, I would be thinking that, okay, they're about to set me up. This is a grown man that doesn't have anywhere to go. No. And she's only been out one day, and it happens on the day that she gets out. No, not buying it. Not really buying it. So Lisa decides that she wants to leave, and she ends up leaving, and Stan says that it's not his fault that she didn't raise her kids right. And it was all just a mess. They're going back and forth and trading insult, and it was just a mess. And I'm really wondering if Stan was actually drunk or if he was just annoyed at how things were going and decided he would just say whatever it was that he was thinking. Or maybe he had more and we just didn't seem to catch it on camera. Maybe that wasn't his first glass of wine. Maybe that was the second or third or bottle 2. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I got for this episode. Alrighty, I'm out. Later.